And for those of you who don't know, I'm the City of Santa Barbara's Facilities and Energy Manager. So this is what I have learned and what the city has learned about electric vehicle charging. First of all, tonight I'll be talking a little bit about our experience, what we've gained in the short time that we've had these electric vehicle charging stations that were installed in May of this year. I'll talk a little bit about the cost, what it takes to the cost to charge electric vehicles. Some environmental concerns about charging during peak hours of the day, which is when most of these charging units are charging at municipal facilities. And I'll also be covering some recommendations to make them more cost-effective and more environmentally sound. So hopefully this will be another quintessential PowerPoint presentation. I know that everyone loves PowerPoint. And they always say that PowerPoint is really a terrible way to present, but I do it all the time, so I mean it seems to work for me, but you do kind of lose something if you're sticking just to the PowerPoint presentation. So what I try to do is draw more attention to myself, so maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. Okay. We installed 8 charging stations, electric vehicle chargers, at these facilities right here: Granada Garage, Library Garage, Alina Lot, and the Waterfront Parking Lot in May. And these were provided by Coulomb Technologies, and that was funded through a Department of Energy grant. And we self-installed these, so I had my crew install all of these, and all of the costs for that were taken care of through grants by the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District and the California Energy Commission. So it didn't really cost the city anything to get the units installed. This is a picture of the charging unit. So each one has the ability to charge at 2 different levels. Level 1, which is 120 volt charging, it'll charge a Nissan Leaf in 20 hours, or level 2, a higher level charging, which will charge a Nissan Leaf in 7 hours. And the way that a customer interfaces with that, if you want to use these units, you go on to chargepoint.net and you get this RFID card, which means that if you hold it up in proximity to the charging station, it'll acknowledge that you are a user and it'll start billing you whatever the city decides to bill you, which happens to be $1 an hour right now. So far, when we first rolled these units out, we didn't charge anything. And so based on the demand that we received from charging, for 2 months of charging at the Granada Garage, when we were charging nothing, we had 85 sessions and we used 129 kilowatt hours of energy. When we started charging $1 an hour, everything dropped to half, which is kind of interesting. So if we're going to derive the demand curve, we just have 2 points. Basically, we know that charging $1 definitely decreases demand for these services. Something that we learned is that not all electric vehicles charge at the same rate. So we're only charging $1 an hour for all electric vehicles at this point. But a Nissan Leaf charges at a rate of 3.3 kilowatts. A Chevy Volt charges at a rate of 2.6 kilowatts. And a Tesla Roadster, or virtually all Teslas, charge at 6.6 kilowatts. So who is the winner here when they're charging, right? So the Teslas, of course, are getting a lot more charging. They're charging twice as fast as a Nissan Leaf. So they're using twice the energy. Okay, this is a little bit of a look at the different tariffs that we have for our electric vehicle charging. Now, Southern California Edison has a special tariff. It's called an EV3, which means Electric Vehicle Charging Tariff number 3. And this is how it really breaks down. There are no peak demand costs, and the kilowatt hour cost, and I'll explain this in a second, is 20 cents per kilowatt hour during peak, and it's 10 cents during off-peak. Now, when we talk about kilowatts and kilowatt hours, kilowatts is an instantaneous rate, okay? So when you have a commercial tariff, you have 2 components. You have a demand cost, which is measured in kilowatts, which is an instantaneous rate, okay? And then you have your kilowatt hours, which is the amount of energy that you actually use. And so that's analogous. Kilowatts are analogous to miles per hour, and to miles traveled. Okay, so as you can see, the EV3 tariff doesn't have any demand costs associated with it. And it turns out that that's a good thing. That's a less expensive way to charge the vehicles as far as, selecting a tariff. Now at the Granada Garage, we have what we call a general service rate there, and it does have a demand charge associated with it. So when a Tesla Roadster comes up and starts charging, you automatically get this incremental cost that's related to 6.6 kilowatts worth of energy times 18.75 cents per month. So you can see that any rate that has a demand cost associated with it is going to be a lot higher cost for the city, and this is a little bit of a problem. I've also listed here a general service 2R rate, which means that if you have installed some renewable source of generation like photovoltaic systems, you can get on this tariff, and you can see that the demand cost is a little bit lower. So I'll show you how this works out overall as far as the demand and energy use for electric vehicle charging. But first of all, we also get charged for the Coulomb transaction fees. So they gave us the units basically for free, but nothing is for free, right? So Coulomb basically charges us on a sliding scale for how many charging sessions we have per month. Okay, we have a lot less than 1,500, so we're getting charged 40 cents per session. Every time somebody starts a session, we get charged 40 cents, and then they charge us 5 cents on the dollar. And so we pay that to Coulomb. Actually, all these charges are done electronically. They take these fees out of the revenue and then send us a check for whatever's left. Okay, so how does this look as far as actual hourly costs for charging? So given that we have 28 charges per month on average, which is what we're getting, an average charge of 4.75 kilowatt hours for every charge. All these numbers are kind of irrelevant, but I just kind of want to point out a couple of things. Our maximum demand is 6.6 kilowatts, which is always set by the Teslas, okay? The average charge time is 2.45 hours, and there's 2 chargers per meter. That means that, at each one of our locations we have 2 chargers, and then each one of these meters have their own tariff. Okay, given all that information, using the EV3 tariff, our cost per hour is 98 cents. So we're really just recovering our cost when we charge $1 an hour on average. Now on the GS2 tariff that we have at Granada Garage, our demand cost is pretty steep. Okay, so that's set by the Teslas, and it's about $250 a month. And overall, that averages out to a total cost of about $2.50 an hour. So you can see that we would much rather prefer to be on the EV3 tariff than the GS2. And the only way that we can do that is to have Edison install a new service and then move those charging units to that new meter and put it under an EV3 tariff. The other thing we could do is we could install some photovoltaic systems and then get this GS2R tariff, which would reduce our costs a little bit there too. So that might be another strategy that we could use. Next, I want to talk about the environmental impact of charging electric vehicles during the middle of the day. During the middle of the day, you have the peak hours that's when the most stress is on the electric grid. And in order to meet the demand during the peak hours of the day, you use marginal generation. What that is natural gas peaker plants, and they're about 30% efficient. So anytime that you're adding additional load to the electric grid, it's going to be supplied virtually by a natural gas peaker plant. And so this is what this looks like. According to the Department of Energy, they figure out what a petroleum equivalency is for all these electric vehicles. And that's taking into account all of the resources that are on the electric grid, both the carbon fuel sources and hydro and nuclear and all those other things. So considering the whole all the resources on the electric grid, a Nissan Leaf will provide 99 miles per gallon gasoline equivalent. Okay, and so we're really talking about tailpipe emissions here. But when you consider that you're charging a Nissan Leaf during the peak hours of the day, like they do at the city most often, what you're dealing with here is that a peaker plant efficiency of 30%, grid losses of 6.5%, and when you plug that into the DOE formula, you're only getting about 21.7 miles per gallon gasoline equivalent. And that's not really very good, so I have a regular Honda Civic that does a lot better than that. So we have to find a way to either have people charge during the off hours or find another way to provide that energy that would be greener. And so why not add solar? The advantage of adding solar is that you're able to switch to that GS2R tariff, you know, if you're on a GS2 tariff, which saves money, and it's virtually you're driving in the sunshine. So if you can make that work out economically, that is a possible answer. And so in summary, here's some of the things that we really found that you can do is that what we need to do is try to get off these general service rates, the GS2 rates, wherever we have electric vehicle charging, and get them on the EV rates, and that'll lower our overall cost. We want to encourage as much off-peak charging as possible, and really that's done by setting the proper rates. If people are paying the right price, they're going to get the right signal, and so then those resources will be properly rationed. And then wherever possible, we need to add, you know, if these vehicles are going to be charged during the peak hours of the day, we should add solar to the project too, so that we can help the vehicles to be a little bit more renewable. And I would normally entertain questions, but I'm already way over time. Is there, how are we doing for time? We're over time, right?
We have, yeah, one question.
Okay, one question. Larry.
I was just wondering, question, the tariff is a fee, essentially, for the...
It's a rate.
It's a rate.
Yeah.
And the, now if you had, is there a cost? There are costs if you have batteries of batteries. I mean, if you had a battery sync such that you would be storing up energy or storing up on off-peak or storing up solar energy such that the cars are drawing off preset batteries there.
The answer is that absolutely that would work. That would help you to shift your load from using more energy during the off-peak and then using the batteries during on-peak. That would work, but the problem is with that is that batteries are expensive. There's losses associated with them, and then there's maintenance involved with them too. So it becomes a little bit cost prohibitive at that point. But who knows? Maybe batteries will become less expensive over time.
Another question?
Yeah.
I'm actually taking a course in sustainability, so I really appreciate this talk here. Do you know how many electric vehicles are registered in the city project?
We do have that information. I do not have it with me, but just by our demand, we're thinking that there's probably 75 or 80 electric vehicles in town, and then sometimes we get vehicles coming from out of town too. So that's roughly, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.